Hello gamers, my name is Duma and welcome to the Game Room. Today we have the next class in the Blade Slinger series, the Necromancer. If this is new for you, I encourage you to check out the original video for the Nightblade, where you can learn quite a lot about some of the fun nuances of the playstyle and different ways you can use a spammable that's not totally intuitive from the tooltip. I'm not going to recover all that today. This is going to be another fast guide. I have 3 builds for you today. I have the Immortal 1-bar Necro, the trial boss of St. Llyothis down solo in under 10 minutes for the Immortal tag, that Vateshran 2 easy, and this one has a really cool rotation I think you're going to like, and man did I sleep on the Corpse Burster set. This thing is crazy good. With a couple of small changes while keeping Oakensoul, this can parse a 93k. I'm going to say that one again. 1 bar, 93k single target damage with an AoE build. That's just straight up silly. So this one is going to absolutely S tier destroy veteran dungeons for a 1-bar build, and there's plenty of trials you can do with it as well. And if you're familiar with the next level series on the channel, where we expand 1-bar builds to just barely into 2 bars with only a couple of back bar abilities and easy modified rotations, this one is now one of those as well. The next level series is to help you learn to bar swap or just play a more simple kit, but at a veteran trial level of DPS. This also uses 0 trial gear, so you don't have to do trials to get trial DPS practice. And then I didn't expect this, but here we are at 113k DPS with only 2 back bar buttons and no trial gear. And look at these 2 dungeon sets DPS. Additional status effects from them not included. Really, really good stuff. I did have a little bit of crit RNG on the parse due to the setup, but I did it 3 times just to make sure it's achievable for those who are proficient at parsing. So somewhere between 110 to 113 can be expected with proficient parsing. But I do think it can be higher with a more dynamic rotation, since this is a simplified version of the rotation. I'll have some gameplay footage of all 3 options at the end of the video, and I'm going to be moving very quick here, but I'll have the written guide up and available for you as well over at the GAMEROOM.tv. Let's go. You want a stamina-based race with Dark Elf having the most DPS, all 64 points into stamina. For the solo setup, we'll be using the Lover Mundus with the Artaeum Takeaway Broth Food. For the group DPS versions, we use the Thief Mundus and Lavafoot Soup, with tripods for both setups. For the solo setup, we'll be using the sets of Essence Thief and the Necro class set of Corpse Burster, set up in this way with any monster helm with a line of penetration like Krogs and Oakensoul. I'll explain how we use the sets in just a moment. Traits and enchants are here for you. CP is here for you as well. I'll also cover the abilities here quickly with you and how they work with the gear. The first set of Essence Thieves helps with sustain a bit, heals us, and increases our damage by 10%. When you attack things, these green orbs appear. Just collect them as you see them, and you'll get the heal, stamina, and 10% buff. Corpse Burster is very simple. Consume a corpse, and it explodes. Easy. We're going to do that with Blast Bones to generate a corpse, and Detonating Siphon to consume it. The core of the build is the Throwing Knife spammable of Sundered Knife, with the scripts of Multi-Target, which makes it an AoE ability as well. War Mage's Defense, which gives you a solid shield boosted by our Bastion CP, and Lifesteal. By the numbers as seen on the Nightblade version of this build, while spamming the knife, the shielding output is roughly 4 times the shielding of Hexos. So this shield script is very good. You can see here just spamming this one ability, the AoE it's pumping out and shielding it's doing. You can also play this from range when needed to navigate mechanics with very little damage lost. Our rotation is going to be a 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3 type of rotation. Blast Bones, Throwing Knife, Siphon. Blast Bones, Throwing Knife, Siphon, and repeat. You summon the Blast Bones, Knife does a nuke and gives you a shield, then Siphon explodes the corpse. And you literally just repeat that over and over again, and there's nothing that's meant to be soloed. You can't solo easily with it. You get 4 AoE nukes and an AoE dot on the ground with just 3 buttons that you repeat over and over again, along with self-heals and shields. That's it. Very simple and fun to play while in combat. Our ulti is Goliath. Use it on cooldown for easy stuff. For hard stuff, it's your I win button. You really can't die while it's up outside of some crazy mechanics. You gain 30,000 health and do a ton of healing and damage around you, and it has a super long duration. Spirit Guardian, keep this rolling. This is going to heal you and reduce the damage you take by 10%. And last is a flex spot. For hard stuff, use Mortal Coil, solid healing and sustained if needed, and 3% additional healing passively. The reason you shouldn't have sustain issues is Blast Bones only costs 808 stam, Siphon is free, and we're wearing Essence Thief, so you probably won't need this. If you don't need it, I like Deadly Cloak in this spot. More AoE damage around your body and reduces area damage taken by 20%, which is a lot of the damage you take in some of the harder arena stages. It's useful for things like the final stage of Veteran Vateshran. And that's it. Super simple to play and stupid strong. For the 93k DPS Oakensoul setup, we drop Essence Thief and bring in Aegis Caller, which is similar-ish to Pillar of Nirn in its function, and then a Slime Crawl Helm. Traits and enchants are here for you, along with CP, and I'll go over the rotation for you as well. We make 1 script change on our knife and drop War Mage's Defense for Warrior's Opportunity for 8% more martial damage, which is significant. Then we bring in Barb Trap, Blood Craze, and Ice Comment. We have both Lifesteal on our knife and healing from Blood Craze, so we cover self heals and group content with our damage abilities. If you want a heal, you can drop Blood Craze and bring back in something like Spirit Guardian. You'll have way more than enough DPS for all veteran dungeons if you do this. Last, if you don't like Trap, you can bring back in Cloak from the solo setup, which is still great dungeon damage. For parsing, you open your rotation with Blast Bones, Comet, Trap, Blast Bones, Rending, Siphon, and then fall in a static rotation of Blast Bones, Knife, Siphon, and repeat. Blast Bones, Knife, Siphon. Blast Bones, Knife, Siphon. Just like the solo setup. Trap and Blood Craze share the same duration of 20 seconds, so the same 3-button pattern works here to refresh them of Blast Bones, Trap, Craze, and then back to the right side with Bones, Knife, Siphon. This splitting the bars into 2 areas aspect is something that comes into play for the next level version as well. When you need to use your ultimate, you plug it in the knife spot, so Blast Bones, Ulti, Siphon. Very clean and easy. For the 2-bar next level setup, we bring in the monster set of Selines with a light shoulder piece, a Maelstrom 2-handed back bar. Normal Maelstrom is fine, you don't have to have the perfected here, and then double precise traits here. Note, double precise can also work for the 1-bar version if you wanted one set of daggers to play both versions. You can run double charged here, but this setup is a little different. We don't have tons of sources proccing status effects for us, rather less damage sources, but bigger ones. So as much as we can get them to crit, the better. I consistently had a bit higher parses with double precise over double charged here. I'll explain the bars for you as well. I spent a very long time parsing with this to get the cleanest and easiest rotation for you. I made a few small sacrifices for damage, such as Trap on the back bar, but it's for the design of ease of use. Remember, this is a next level build, which is a modified setup to make it easier for you. If you are experienced, you can push and pull some of this stuff around for a higher output if you like. First, I want to explain the back bar. You'll notice Blast Bones and Siphon is on both bars. This is to make things easier for you in the opener to parse. You only use Blast Bones 2 times when we start back here, and then never again. And then you never actually use Siphon back here at all. So these 2 spots are technically open if you're proficient at double bar swapping for them on the opener, with this spot here open as well. So in summary here, other than 2 uses of Bones in the opening, there are 3 open flex spots back here of being unused for you to fill with whatever you like. From the first button until the parse is completed, you want to try to never break the pattern of Blast Bones followed by 2 abilities. Blast Bones, ability, ability. Blast Bones, ability, ability. Every time you break that pattern, you take a tiny hit in DPS. It's the skill cap of the class and where people typically struggle with it. I have your bars divided up into 3 small pieces to make it easier for you. Front bar is the main little piece, which is the same as the previous setups. Blast Bones, Knife, Siphon. That's the core rotation you repeat when everything else has their timers rolling. The next chunk is Blast Bones, Cloak, Archer. These are together because they share the same timer of 20 seconds. So they will be refreshed together in the same little 3-button cycle to make it clean and easy for you. And then the back piece of Blast Bones, Bar Swap, Stampede, Trap, Bar Swap. Stampede has a hang up on bar swapping when stationary, so rather than get into walking into an angle bracket on the floor thing and potentially overwhelm newer players or those learning to parse, we're going to remove that whole element by always following Stampede with Trap. You'll refresh Trap early each time due to it having a longer timer than Stampede, but that's totally okay. It makes for an easier rotation with much less bar swapping. And it's not too horrible of a loss due to Trap also having a mini spammable component of sorts on its initial hit. So by doing it like this, you greatly cut down on the total number of bar swaps by almost half, which is a big deal for quality of life. And for many people, the output will ultimately be higher due to it being easier to use than a more optimal dynamic bar setup. So your 3 pieces again are Blast Bones, Knife, Siphon, Blast Bones, Cloak, Archer when they need to be refreshed, and Blast Bones, Bar Swap, Stampede, Trap, Bar Swap when the back bar needs to be refreshed. Very simple once you get it down. It's not 2 bars of total whack-a-mole insanity. Now it's just 3 little chunks on the bars to focus on. So basically you're just watching 3 groups of timers as a whole rather than tracking all the individual abilities. See how that slows things down a bit when you think of it like that? The only kind of complicated part is the opener. It was a bit of work to get a strong front-loaded opener that also takes minimal effort. So for the opener, again, we're sacrificing a small amount of damage for a clean and easy opener and easier initial bar swapping. So again, very proficient players can change this order around for a bit higher output. Before we engage, we start with Potion, Cloak, Archer, Bar Swap. Then we begin with Blast Bones, Comet, and start light weaving with Stampede, Blast Bones, Trap, Bar Swap, Siphon. Then we settle in for the parse, focusing on the 3 sections. We repeat section 1 over and over again of Blastbone's Knife Siphon, Blastbone's Knife Siphon, Blastbone's Knife Siphon. On the very first cycle of timers, your left piece and the back piece both come off cooldown at the same time. Refresh the back bar first, then the front left side. If you're experienced, it helps to refresh the back bar 1 to 2 seconds early here as well, but it's not needed. Then from there, the left piece and the back piece get separated in their timers a bit and it gets a little easier. So you're spending most of your time here focusing on this chunk and then quickly pivoting to refresh this area or the back area as they come available, always starting with Blastbones. It's not hard, it just takes a little practice. And if this is new and overwhelming for you, I think with a little FaceTime, you'll start to appreciate the bar setup here in this way because it genuinely makes the hardest class to parse with a little easier by not having a dynamic insanity type of setup. And you can just focus on 3 little groups. Watch your ultimate. At 200 ultimate, use ulti from the back bar in place of knife, almost always. So Blastbones, bar swap, ulti, bar swap, siphon. That's the only little dynamic piece, but it's the same almost every time. I'm gonna leave a good bit of duration of the parse in the gameplay so you can see it as well and get a feel for it. If you mess up, it's fine, just keep going and get back on track. Also, this is important for you. Due to Necro passives, dual wield passives, and bloodthirsty trait scaling, you'll be adding up to 10k DPS on the final 1/3 of your parse. So you can't know where you are proficiency-wise unless you complete the parse totally. Between those 3 things, early parse crit RNG, a bit of yo-yo with DPS with comet use, it's really beneficial for you practice-wise to complete the entire parse to get a feel of where you are. Stopping early isn't really beneficial unless you're just 100 miles off course and you know it. Plus, the longevity training from it is very valuable. If you keep stopping, you'll never get good at completing full parses with minimal errors. Final tiny thing, we get brutality and savagery from Archer and Siphon, which allows us to use tripods. But your entire back bar opener will be missing this buff, which is impactful. So on the dummy, I would use weapon power pots. You can make them without brutality if you like, and then you can use tripods and live content if you like, unless you're progging something and every tiny bit counts. There's other ways you can chop up potions, but this is just a simple and clean way to handle it. And that's it, gamers. This one was fun to put together, and I tried to accommodate all the types of PvE players out there with it. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of everything for gameplay to see whatever you're interested in action. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you learned something today or liked the video, do me a solid and hit that like and sub button. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.